My name is Bill Moore. I am not very good at talking about myself, so this will be interesting to see how well this goes. I produce videos, direct and edit video content for corporations and marketing purposes and things, television. I also teach a speed reading course, which I'm trying to find a way to turn that into some kind of income generating proposition at some point, hopefully. I'm building a business, couple small businesses in the realms of content creation. I'm an avid distance bicycle rider guy. I rode from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. It was the longest trip I did. I've done some smaller trips. Plan to do some long, maybe a nice long one this summer. I have a piece of junk, really heavy, Frankensteined old Schwinn mountain bike. That same trip that I did to DC, one of my friends that came with me, he rode a Schwinn 1-speed, like a cruiser bike from the 70s. This thing was like really heavy with coaster brakes, like pedal brakes, like as if you were like a 12-year-old kid. That's what he rode to DC on, and he was just fine. I think you can do it with any bike, really, as long as it's like not falling apart too badly. So the speed reading course that I teach, not really speed reading in the sense that most people imagine when you say speed reading. It's more about improving your ability to read by training your eye muscles and training your eye and doing some exercises that train your mind to improve your ability to read. We measure that with speed in terms of words per minute, but it's also measured in comprehension. The idea is not just to read faster, but to read better. Less what we call back skipping and regression, where you'll be reading something and then you have to skip back and reread it. Eliminating subvocalization and making it so that what you're reading, or working towards a situation where what you're reading is being translated directly into thoughts and ideas and concepts and images, rather than being translated into vocal words that you're sort of half listening to in your head. What my goal in teaching that is to help people read better, not just read faster. Reading faster is part of it. So if you're interested in learning more about reading faster, reading better, learning to improve your reading ability, down here, I'm told, is an email address or a website or something that I'm gonna have put there if you want to contact me. I realized that a lot of people would want to know how to do this stuff, and I just started showing more and more people, to the point now where I do whole classes of people learning to read better. I like classical music. I really like folk music. There's this guy, Alan Lomax. He travels, he's dead now, I think, but he has this archive of, traveled the world and collected all of these beautiful, amazing folk music recordings from just, islanders on some remote island, and people in the American South, and hillbillies, and that kind of music is very interesting to me. Also, bluegrass I like quite a bit. Blues, I like Radiohead. The books I've been into recently, which is sort of a found sound. They're these group of guys that just like find recordings of things and mash them together into songs that are or just sort of oral soundscape things. I would love to play an instrument. I don't play any instruments though. I have a piano that I keep telling myself I'm going to learn to play the piano, and I try and I work on it a little bit, and then I get disheartened or distracted or whatever and don't continue. I keep telling myself one day, well, I don't know if that's true though. I'd go to Mars. I would travel around the world, walk or bike around the world, or I would learn to fly. I would learn to fly like a jet, like MiG. Like I learned this, you can buy a MiG fighter jet. A human, non-military human being, civilian, can purchase a MiG, like the Russian fighter jet. They're like $700,000 or something, which is a lot of money, but it's a MiG fighter jet, and you can own that and fly that legally as a United States civilian. People own those and just fly them around for fun. So that would probably be one of them. Growing up, my favorite movies were Annie and Ghostbusters. As I started growing up, I started getting into Stanley Kubrick. My dad was like a film guy, and so he's kind of got me into Stanley Kubrick. So like 2001, The Shining, Paths of Glory. As I got older, I started getting into the Coen Brothers films, and so Raising Arizona is one of my favorite films. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is one of my favorite films. A Serious Man is probably one of my favorites. It's also a Coen Brothers film. I really like a lot of Terry Gilliam's films. I like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's a film I could watch over and over again. Big Lebowski, back to the Coen Brothers. Not a huge fan of like action films so much, or kind of like the popular film genres, but some of them are good, I guess. I like Fight Club. I like Vanilla Sky. Also, Risky Business. So I like Tom Cruise's non-action films, I guess. Mission Impossible was entertaining. I didn't see the new ones. Those kind of films are kind of like they're enjoyable while they go on, and then like I forget all about them as soon as I walk out of the theater, or as soon as I stop watching it. It's like it's an immediate visceral thrill that's completely forgettable to me. I just saw Big Trouble in Little China for the first time. Oh, They Live is a great fucking film. That's an action movie with definite. I mean, my friend had been trying to get me to watch that movie forever, and it didn't look like anything I would want to watch. And even like a quarter of the way in, I was like, "What am I watching?" I'm so glad that I watched it because there's some amazing stuff in that movie. I just realized the other day that Shepard Fairey's Obey signs that he does are a ripoff of that he took that from that movie. And I realized that long after seeing the movie and seeing the things and just seeing one of his posters one day, and I go, oh wait, did he get that from that movie? And I was like, wow, that's deep. Huh. I played a character on a TV show named Dr. Quack, and this was one season. It was the second season of a TV show that I guess you can see it in Pittsburgh if you have the right cable provider, but mostly it's on the West Coast, and it's one of those like Channel 300 something. It's one of the Christian kid channels, like the religious kid channels. And they've got a science show called Super Simple Science Stuff for Kids, and it's like I think there's only 2 seasons that exist of the show, and they just play them in heavy rotation. But I played a character named Dr. Quack on that show, and he has a personality that's kind of like, well, hi kids, today we're going to learn about temperature. Do you know what temperature is? Well, you see, when atoms vibrate and stuff like that, it's kind of like a Professor Frink slash, it's mostly Professor Frink, I guess. Little other bits of stereotypical scientists from television that I stole. So that's one that I do. Well, I sing karaoke sometimes, and I can sort of make myself sound like David Bowie, at least in my head. I don't know if it really sounds like him. Billy Corrigan. I can make myself sound like Billy Corrigan a little bit, but I'm not doing it right now. But probably my voice already 90% sounds like Jim Henson's voice, and so Kermit the Frog, or Ernie, or Bert, or any of Jim Henson's characters. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the other side? It's not perfect. I need to work on it. but I sort of already sound like Kermit the Frog. So if I work on Kermit, I think I could get him pretty good. I actually, because my voice sounds kind of like a Muppet voice, I've had friends and people that are making films that anytime anyone needs anything that sounds like a Muppet or puppet voice, I'm usually the go-to guy for that. This is sort of akin to my other problem where I try to learn to do too many things at once. I also try to read too many books at once, and it causes problems sometimes. So currently I'm reading The Hobbit, this is probably the 6th time I'm reading The Hobbit, but I happen to be reading it with my girlfriend. It's sort of like we're reading it together situation. The Hobbit was the first book that I've ever read, or like real book that I read. I got it, so I have a copy from 1st grade that my parents got me. I still have, and in fact, I used The Hobbit when I was learning to read better, like improve my reading. But that was that was the first book that I really read. I'm also reading a book called Death in Spring, which I think I'm going to give up on because I'm not really into it. Just finished Cloud Atlas, which was awesome, an awesome book, and a decent movie, but I think it was better as a book. So then the nonfiction side, I'm reading a ton of nonfiction stuff. Recent books I read The Prince, Machiavelli book, I've been reading a lot of books on business and finance, so I just finished The E-Myth Revisited by, can't remember his name now, but he's like an entrepreneurship guy, about entrepreneurship. Tim Ferriss, I read his 4-hour series, 4-Hour Work Week, and the 4-Hour Body, and the 4-Hour Chef that I'm like sort of read most of, because I'm also learning to cook, and I'm really good at making omelets right now. I've been practicing for 6 months. I make like omelets probably 3 or 4 times a week, and I make amazing omelets now. It's exciting getting to the mastery stage of anything, even if it's something as simple as making omelets. Because when you start, it's so horrible. Everything you do is just terrible, and you're like, I'm never going to get this. And then at some point, you are able to get it right, but you don't know how you did it exactly. And the next time you do it, it could be horrible, and it probably will be. And then at some point, you're able to get it right pretty consistently. And then at some point, you're able to get it right almost every single time without thinking about it. And that's like the coolest part of becoming good at something. Yeah, that's an exciting thing that happens when you learn to do stuff. That transition between being shitty at something and being good at something, and then being automatically good at something. So it's like kind of a fun transition. Oh, anyway, I was talking about books. Books that I really like. I grew up reading science fiction all the time, so that was like my thing. Like most people, like me, nerdy kind of people. Arthur C. Clarke and Asimov and Ray Bradbury and like the classic sci-fi guys. I was really into, and I still read science fiction fairly regularly. I read Ender's Game not too long ago. I read The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I just got Stranger in a Strange Land and another book that he wrote. I haven't read them yet.